When I decided to start learning music, I was pretty blind at what the bass guitar was because up to that moment I had no idea what it was. I thought it was just some sort of funny guitar or something like that. Funnily enough, at the time I was watching an anime called K-On! And that's where I even learned that the bass played an essential role in the band and in music in general. Seeing the bass in that context left me pretty curious. Since I was already thinking of learning to play something, I thought, hey, maybe I should research about this one a bit. It seems pretty interesting. With that small intro out of the way, I'd like to add that I consider myself a bassist first and foremost, despite, well, I'd say I can already play the guitar at a decent level, and I'm playing around a bit with harmonica. I'd say bass is my first choice because I like the role that it plays in the band, in music, and I just like the lower notes in general. But what's the role of bass? What does it do in music? Well, the bass is the glue that holds the rhythmic section, meaning the drums, with the harmonic and melodic sections, meaning guitar, keyboard, vocals, anything. However, the bass is considered a part of the rhythmic section. It can be a lead instrument and it can even play some chords, meaning it can also contribute to the musical harmony, but in most cases it is absolutely an essential part of the rhythmic section and plays the roles of it. That means that the bass is essentially, well, at least for me, the epitome of playing for the song. You're holding everything together, so you don't get many chances to do fancy things like the guitarist may be doing, although you might get your chance, certainly, uh, depending on the genre of music. However, remember that even though many times bass goes underappreciated by the general audience, your fellow musicians, or at least I should hope so, will certainly recognize the role that you're playing because it's what you're playing that allows the others to shine through and play their fancy solos or develop their own ideas. Some valid reasons and things I'd like you to keep in mind if you're deciding to play bass is, well, maybe you're more of a shy person, maybe you like staying in the back and just playing for the song and just enjoying the environment you're creating. Because most of the time you're not going to be the frontman of the band unless you're set out to do so. Like you got some great bassists and great examples of frontmen, which are Les Claypool, Peter Steele. These are, of course, generalizations, and you'll always find exceptions to the rule. However, you should really consider them because they are mostly accurate. The role that you'll be playing as a bassist in a band is most likely to be the one that's, as I've said earlier, the glue. So you're just playing for the song and playing what's needed for everyone else to hold together. That doesn't mean you can't be or won't be a bass virtuoso like Victor Wooten, for example, but you should be aware that the most common role and what's expected of you is usually to play more of a solid role, like for example what Paul Simonon plays for The Clash. Maybe you just like drums but don't want to play drums. Bass is a great pick because you'll get to play with the drums, while not actually playing the drums. I'd like to add that bass is not the right option for you if you're thinking that bass is just going to be an easy thing to play. While it's true that there are bass lines that are very easy to play, it's not because the players can't play better, it's because it's what the music needs, and sometimes you need to know a lot and be very good before you can simplify and make it sound good. I know there's this idea that the bass is just extremely easy and anyone can play it. Well, I'd say the same for any instrument, it only depends on how committed you are to it. This idea comes from the fact that in the past, many times, the guy who got the bass was usually the worst guitarist of the band. Thankfully, that notion is slowly fading away as people see the bass for what it is and respect the capabilities that it can bring to the table. You can get away with playing roots and fifths, that's perfectly fine, a lot of times that's what the song needs, but if you're aspiring to become a bassist, I encourage you to just play the best you can play, learn the most you can play, and then just out of that toolkit, just use what you think is best for the song. Personally, when I play bass, I like being more of a support player, meaning I just play for the other musicians to shine through. I enjoy being a structural part of the band and being reliable in keeping both the tempo and a steady flow so that everyone can always find the home base in my playing. Just remember that even if a lot of people don't notice it, it's your groove that's holding everything together and getting everyone to enjoy the song. Also, if you're thinking of playing the bass, I think you should also keep in mind that there are not many out there who would call themselves bassists, so the demand is pretty high, I'd say, so you can probably find someone to play with fairly easily compared to more popular instruments like guitar, for example. If you see yourself in any of the opinions that I've brought forward regarding the bass, then I'd say you're probably a good fit for playing it. However, you're also perfectly free to use the instrument however you see fit and even just completely revolutionize how we use it. So, if you're feeling that urge, the motivation to learn bass, go ahead with it, carpe diem and all that, because you'll for sure learn something invaluable that will certainly help you out in your musical journey or in just learning a new skill.